back at it again with another one. Got a very intuitive list for y'all today. The source I promised many weeks ago. And this is the list I've been playing in the background. Pre-hits to this deck. I always explore different routes because strategy and other game plans do exist besides the mainstream ones you might see or only see. But without further ado, let's get into this. This is my IRL deck, but I just made it a deck planet list just if anybody wanted to peep it out. You have the numbers 264284. But without further ado, let's get into this because that's what y'all here for. But as you may or may not know, the leader pumps out vanillas, so we have to keep that aspect of it just for deck fluidity and to get our pluses. So we run 4 Son Goku, 4 Grandpa Gohans, and 4 Ox Kings. This is just like the bread and butter of how you revolve your pluses in the deck. You gotta have vanillas to run. Next, we got a 3-3 split between this guy. Let me bring him up. He is the aspect of blanking cards. What I mean by that is he negates skills, and he's also a dual attacker. But you can't pop him back to back, and in turn, you only can run one. But that's all we need just to turn off annoying effects and to push more damage. But he's like a turn 4+ play. Oh, I forgot to explain him. His purpose is usually pumping out a 30k and barrier removal. That is all. And threaten that double streak. Simply put. Super combo, we use Reddit's Saiyan Youth. We get to 4 easily. Seem like the best super combo. Then we got our Chaozu, just for counterplay interaction. Just running a 3 of though, because we're throwing it back to the wolf himself. Merciless Barrage Yamcha, hitting 2 cards at once. So good that they limited him to 1. RIP. Then we have this card, cause they nerfed our leader effect to neg unisons, so we're just gonna still neg unisons anyway, cause they still not safe. I say the only difference is you just gotta pay energy. That is it. And if I'm correct, this is not a once per turn. I can just keep firing these off. So attack if you dare, or I can just set the offensive and keep doing that. Then we have Fearless Pen, but I'm never going to pay 3 for that. We have another way to get that out, which we'll get into it later. So we run a 2-2 split of that, and this one, when a card activates a boost up, you get to neg something by 20k. We have a lot of negging effects in this deck, and that's essentially one of Red's best toolkits, is to neg stuff. But in this instance, I can draw one when I do that effect, and usually want to trigger this on my turn and my opponent's turn, just to keep up card advantage and lower theirs. Definitely want to keep their field presence low as possible because we want to be in control at all times. Then we got this throwback card from the original Kid Cool deck, or Bonds of Friendship childhood Goku deck. Still my favorite, and the rightful owner of the Kid Cool title. So I just called this red version childhood. like it should be. But this is another way to pump out your 30Ks and also search out your Dragon Balls, specifically the 4-star ball from your deck. And we run 2 4-stars. This is in here along with the kid Goku, or the Adventure Begins Son Goku, because this does a neat little combo with the pen, which I can swing with a vanilla and then power it up with the 4-star ball and trigger my pen, which when pen triggers or something is boosted up, I get to neg something and draw a card. So it's good to keep that little bit of a chain rolling. Then we also run our other ball, which I can do throughout the game just to keep my hand up. This is not necessarily a plus, it's like a break even, but it's just filtering through your deck just so you can see more of your cards. Same thing with the super combo. Your super combo is not a plus, it's a 0 that filters. But we do run pluses in this deck. Besides the pen, depending on how long it stays on the field. Our actual +1 in this deck is I'm the world champion. And its only requirement is to have a childhood Goku on the field. That's it. And I draw 2 cards. So we run in for that pot of greed. But as flavor, I forgot to mention that 5 of this grand or the heirlooms, which also can be searched out with our 5-drop, which I forgot to mention. My bad. There's a lot of interactions in this deck for this particular build. And this has Dragon Ball in all areas, which is important, which I'll highlight that importance later. And like with him grabbing it, it's always a good plus. For the most part, we want to make this deck with every play, for the most part, at least get rid of something or replace itself, just to keep our hand size and value. Going on to my next card. In my real IRL deck, this is just the one of, and this generates so many pluses in this deck. Actually, this is a +2 for our deck, and it extends our turn 3 to 6 plays immensely. Before I was running 3 of this in this list, this used to be a 1 of and 2 bunny girls. But when that got banned, I'm like, I'm about to bump this card up because this card is too strong in this particular version not to run a higher count of. Not only does it grab 4 stars, it grabs the heirloom because it's also considered Dragon Ball in all areas. So I can grab this, and if I have villains in my hand, I can ditch them to draw 2 cards. You see the simple interactions that I built up with this deck? I had to give this concept that I had a bit of structure and make sure it synergizes and ties in together with itself, and that's generally what you want to do when you're building your decks. There's a lot of potential for strategies in this game that all you need is the structure, framework, and just like a bit of synergy to tie the thread all together. And that's what I tried to do with this list. And also getting into its effect, which I probably skipped over, which besides grabbing Dragon Balls, you can play a Saiyan 3 or less with 15k or less from your drop, which our Saiyans of choice is these 3 right here. This just to possibly trigger another draw. This is like the main one if we establish a board, and if my opponent is playing this deck right, they don't want me to establish a board, because when this come out, not only does it give my board double strike in 5k, but my leader as well, which is really powerful. And And if I'm grabbing this and this is on the field, it'll also trigger her effect. It just loops back into each other. Or if I want to start negging stuff, this will also trigger my Gohan first effect, which negs up to 7 cards by 10k. And if I hit 5, he gets double strike and 10k to his attack stats. So as you're seeing, a lot of this flows back into each other to rinse, recycle, and repeat until the opponent life hits 0. You can play this very aggro, mid-range, or sit back and play a control. I wanted to make a deck that can pivot to each of those thresholds seamlessly. Going to our defense, Nimbus. I say if this was printed today, this would be a super rare. Guaranteed how strong it is. This is like one of the first floodgates the game has ever known, and rightfully strong as such. But as the game developed, this kind of got, or they designed around this card with the introduction of unisons and making your leader swing more than once, because that's the only downside of Nimbus, and the fact that you have to discard a card. But we have cards that we can discard in this place, and specifically you have to discard a yellow card, but we probably discard our extra heirlooms if we don't have any vanillas in our hand. Going on to our next card, my tech for this deck, and more people should be running this card. I was surprised off the like 20 to 30 plus list on this builder, and I see this card, and it works amazingly well with our 30k vanillas because they live and our opponent gets destroyed by this card, which you can activate during the main or the battle phase, which is such a surprise and gives this that extra flavor. Going on to my next one, Wolfing. If I have a unison out, I don't have to pay the energy costs, so that conditional saves us energy. And also this is pairs well with our last card, so this plus the Wolfing hits anything up to 40k, so that's a secret rare right there with just 2 cards. Then going on to our closing card, Almighty Resistance. Such a good card just to close out games on a double strike or unison or leader swing. Then for our last card, I already told you about the weakness of Nimbus, so we had to throw back a classic to help compensate for that weakness, and also give us like a board wipe at the same time. If you don't know, this is one from like the other earlier sets, and I think this was one of the first secret rares to get like a regional printing or national printing, because it was so highly played around set 12, Vicious Rejuvenation, because doing this, or the value that it brought, was like next to none at that time. And I still think this card holds weight, especially in like certain strategies like this. But mainly if you time it for your opponent's turn, probably leading off with a Wolfing and just doing this during a battle swing, your opponent's leader and unisons can attack, and from that point on you can follow up with your Nimbus, and that will usually end the turn for your opponent and just limit them their swings to about just 2 swings. And then if it lives for the next turn, if they don't have any active main to get rid of this, you can swing with it first and just get rid of their board and their unison. So this is also unison removal for 1 energy, which is very value-tastic while wiping the board and sending it all to the opponent's warp. Going on to the Z deck is very, very diverse. Water, just the standard what we use just to awaken. Then we have the follow-up 10 times. Usually a standard staple in most red decks. Then we have this spice, Goku's Kamehameha. When I play this, it gives all my Son Goku cards in my battle area +5. And then I can launch this during the battle step to give something 10k in crit. Or Son Goku and his character name 10k in crit. Also, I remove this from the game at the end of the turn, choose up one of my opponent's battle skillless battle cards, and kill it at the end of the turn. This auto also can time well with our other Kid Ku in the deck. Let me see. This guy right here. Because when you negate their skills, they're considered skillless. So that interaction is pretty neat if there's something else I want to get off the field in like a 1-2 combination. Then we got one of our double strikers from the Z deck. It's always value if you have be able to produce a double striker and have some type of removal. And this one reduces its cost by 2, which makes this a 1 cost potential double strike from the deck by sacking the 30k. Then we cut this to 2 RTNs. Gotta use this very carefully. But if you use this rate, you'll not need more than 2. When I was playing my regular mono red, I was going to no more than 2 or 3 a game. So cutting this back didn't feel so bad because it gave us room for other stuff. Yajirobe is king. I still love this effect because it gives crit pressure, and also it's another interaction that they have to deal with, which produces a 30k and also makes my Wolffang Fist more scary. And in tandem with the leader effect, on opponent's turn I can play a 30k and trigger my leader effect to neg something by 15. There's a lot of setups with this card. I don't know why people cut it. Then this is our standard unison after we go through our Yajirobe sequence. Just more minusing effects, and often in the game they're not going to kill this, so going into turn 5 this will probably be at 7 markers, no problem. Turn 5, turn 6, and if you can't kill them, you can launch off that -7 to buy you another turn, and then you win. But this card is kind of expensive right now. Hopefully, I think this is like the main expensive card in this deck. Otherwise, this deck is cheap. I say under $100 for this specific variant. But going on to our last few cards, we run yellow, so we run in this. I chose this over another Z battle card because of a card in our side deck that works really, really well. But also, it's more access to board wipe potential, which I explained in my other video. the 5 things your deck needs to have to compete in this metagame. Also, it can negate skills, which, i.e., triggers with that other extra card, or that Z extra that I said earlier. But also, this is another double strike that's a unison, which is harder to deal with in most cases. So this has potential to close out the game. Then we got the Oolong, which is everybody's favorite card, because I get strong like you, essentially. And side deck, we got that other card I was alluding to, which usually side into this if I'm facing like black or green or any other deck that plays a lot of high cost bodies early. This kind of locks them out of being able to swing at you, as well as being a late game finisher if need be, depending on the matchup. Also, this is another card that can tap your energy. So if they holding 1 energy up, trying to play around Broly Crown or something, this card can punish them for that. And the way it gains markers, you choose 1 card in your battle area and switch it to rest mode. If you have a Z extra card, you can switch that to rest mode. It usually does kind of in the sense that you have to switch. I thought you could switch to Z extras. Choose this card or one of your battle cards. So it has to be a battle card. So, switch to Chaozu or something. I thought you could switch to Z extra. That's my fault. Reading. But reading is understanding. But like I said before, being able to lock your opponent out for doing things too aggressively or not in a proper flow of the game, this checks them. And being a yellow card that inside a red deck that can tap your opponent's energy is really strong. Then we got our Unison of Rage, just to have another bevy of unisons we got that doesn't affect too hard on our deck strategy, but another chance to look at your hand, pump up the leader, and play our Yamchas through. 1 crown, like I said before, just for blue, they keep the energy open. I'm seeing that hand. The Rage unison, the Fury and the Rage, I'm going to see that hand regardless, no matter how you set up or try to play around it. Then we have 2 Violent Rays for big body decks, just for more hard negates. Decided to put Dance in a side deck for the matchup dependent, because there's how looking forward in these past few sets by design, Bandai's been printing out a lot of 8-drop 35Ks 5K combo cards that kind of makes this card a bit worse. So if I don't curve into this early or by like turn 2 turn 3 in certain matchups, it doesn't really matter for the game, because my opponents, or most of the current latest decks, are designed to play around this card. It was pretty strong when it came out, but it's gotten weaker over time. But I still cite it just for those matchups that can't deal with this card and just keep them locked out of attacking due to the nature of its defensive capability. Regardless, you gotta make them think it exists. And that just adds another layer, especially when you go into big events. Including a copy somewhere in your deck makes them think about it throughout the game and adds another layer of strategy to how you have to play your turns. So that makes them be more cautious and lets you proceed to have another turn because they're being cautious. But going on to the next one, enough with the philosophy for now, but just wanted to put y'all on game. Koisekai, standard. If they play on your turn, you punish them, essentially. You punish their hand. Also good into like Cooler Mill or something. Village Elder for the mill decks, because mill is popular, you gotta respect it. And also put some of your notable cards back. And with these, they don't designate a specific color, so I can put my yellow cards back as well. Also, I can hurt my opponent's drop or disrupt their setup as well. A lot of people don't really pay attention to that second effect, but it can come up. And lastly, having an 8 drop in your deck is pretty good, and also more cards that ignore a barrier. And if I'm playing Hatch, I have another card. I'm playing against Hatch, I got another card I can swing with, because that matchup slows you down, but you can grind it out. That is the deck list. That is the deck planet number. I'm just going to give you a full view of the deck. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all later on the next one. It's just been my spicy sauce chowku sauce off deck is what I'm calling it, but that's the logic and the reasoning behind it. Catch y'all next time.